The drama surrounding the Boston Celtics this season has unfolded like a storyline nobody expected. A narrative that almost defies basketball logic. A team missing its franchise superstar should look lost, depleted, scrambling for answers. They should be clinging to mediocrity, not building momentum. They shouldn't be climbing the standings, beating playoff teams, or discovering new identity pieces in real time. But instead of collapsing, Boston has taken Jason Tatum's absence and turned it into a proving ground. They've gone 12-0 in this stretch, collecting wins over legitimate competition like the Cavaliers, Knicks, and Magic while forming an offensive identity sharper and more cohesive than anything they showed last postseason. This isn't luck. This is a team discovering its backbone. And at the center of this transformation is Jaylen Brown, playing not as the co-star he has always been labeled, but as a true offensive engine, a player capable of carrying every possession, every responsibility, and every demand without hesitation. This has been the biggest revelation of their season. Whether Jaylen could finally be the guy when the team had no other option. And the answer has been a resounding yes. He hasn't just looked comfortable in the role, he has thrived in it, bending defenses with a force and maturity that marks a new chapter in his career. The Celtics are posting a 121.5 offensive rating with him on the floor, and the moment he sits, that number drops by nearly 12 full points. That's not a star's impact. That is the footprint of a franchise-caliber player. Over the last 5 games alone, Jaylen has averaged over 30 points, nearly 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and close to 3 stocks while going head-to-head with the best defenders every single night. But it isn't just the production, it's the growth behind it. The mid-range jumper that has always been part of his game has now become his signature weapon, a stabilizer that transforms broken possessions into reliable offense. Nobody in the entire league takes more long mid-range shots than him, and yet he's hitting them at a rate that places him in the elite tier with names like SGA, Kevin Durant, and DeMar DeRozan. These are the shots that define playoff basketball, the ones that survive pressure and erase bad spacing. And Jaylen has made them the Celtics' lifeline. Even the handle, long the soft spot that critics held against him, has taken a visible leap. He is initiating offense more than at any point in his career, using tighter sequences and more control to weaponize his speed without losing the ball as frequently. Yes, the turnovers are still there, but they no longer define him. They no longer overshadow his creation. Instead, Jaylen is playing with a level of command that suggests he finally understands how to run a team, how to manipulate defenses, how to outthink the traps designed to shut him down. And when Tatum returns, this version of Jaylen will become something even more dangerous, the best second option in basketball, and a player who can flip the balance of any playoff series. But even with Jaylen's rise, Boston's survival depended on their backcourt, and for the first month of the season, it looked like that foundation was cracking. Derek White and Peyton Pritchard couldn't hit shots, couldn't find rhythm, and couldn't provide the perimeter scoring necessary to support a team missing its superstar. Then, suddenly, everything shifted. Over the last 8 games, both guards have snapped back into form with violent force. Pritchard is hitting 45% of his threes on outrageous volume, giving Boston the floor spacing they desperately needed earlier in the year. Derek White, meanwhile, has climbed back to nearly 40% shooting from deep while still anchoring the defense with elite rotations, timing, and off-ball intelligence that ranks among the best at his position. And the breakout moments have been spectacular. White exploded for 27 points against Detroit, while Pritchard carved up Cleveland for a career-high 42, showing complete control and confidence as the lead guard in a must-win game. These weren't flukes. These were foundational performances that stabilized the offense and gave Boston back the perimeter identity they had been searching for. The Celtics don't need either of these players to be stars. They just need them to be steady, reliable, and efficient. Now that they've returned to form, Boston's offense feels whole again. But perhaps the most surprising part of this run is the rise of the players nobody believed in. The bench pieces who were supposed to be placeholders, not difference makers. Jordan Walsh has become a two-way spark, impacting games with defense, cutting, rebounding, and the kind of winning plays that don't show up in highlight reels but absolutely show up in the on-off numbers. And then there's Neemias Queta, the unexpected anchor whose presence has completely altered the Celtics' defensive identity. With him on the floor, Boston transforms into one of the league's most efficient defensive units, holding opponents to staggeringly low scoring numbers and patching the interior void left by Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford's limitations. These contributions are the reason Boston hasn't just survived, they've flourished. Which brings us to the inevitable question hovering over every game, every update, every rumor. What happens when Jason Tatum comes back? The whispers continue to grow louder. Videos of his rehab surface online. Coaches' comments hint at progress. Tatum himself seems hungry, ambitious, impatient even, already thinking about potential return dates. The initial timeline suggested February or March, but Achilles injuries demand patience, caution, and respect. And yet, the idea of Tatum returning at even 70% strength fundamentally shifts the Eastern Conference landscape. A version of Tatum who can stretch the floor, bend defenses, and carry portions of the scoring load would elevate Boston into a threat nobody wants to see in a 7-game series. And the truth is, this might be the most open Eastern Conference we've had in years. Very few teams look complete. Very few look trustworthy. Boston, even without Tatum, is trending toward a mid-40s win pace. With him back, even partially, they could push toward 50 and slide comfortably into the playoff bracket. And if he actually returns to form by April? Suddenly, the Celtics are no longer scrapping for survival. They are a dangerous team entering the postseason with a superstar returning at the perfect time. The question becomes not whether they can compete, but how far they can go. Everything hinges on what the front office decides to do at the trade deadline. Ston remains competitive. Brad Stevens may strike early, adding depth or a role player to help support a potential playoff push. A massive move, however, might be reserved for the off-season, a calculated decision based on long-term vision. But no matter how it plays out, one truth is clear. The Celtics aren't just waiting for Tatum. They are building something meaningful before he even returns. And when he does step back onto that court, healthy and eager, this team is going to look entirely different. Stronger, deeper, more confident, and far more dangerous than anybody predicted back in October. This run without him hasn't been a setback. It has been a foundation. And when the full roster finally reunites, the Eastern Conference will feel that shift immediately. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit like to support the channel and help the video reach more NBA fans. Subscribe for more dramatic, story-driven basketball deep dives just like this. And tell me in the comments, when Jason Tatum returns, do the Celtics become a legitimate contender, or is this run without him simply unsustainable? I'd love to hear your take.